Okay, so I'm back at my table. I have my 2 slabs. I forgot to mention 2 more tools that are going to be useful to you in making slabs. The first one is going to be a rib tool like this, and the second one is going to be a needle tool like this. Okay, so first thing we need to do after we've rolled our slabs out is we need to compress the clay. Compressing the clay is important because it aligns all the clay particles to all be laying in the same direction. It prevents bubbles in our clay, so it'll help us see if there's any bubbles in our clay, and we can pop those with our needle tool. But it also makes the clay much more sturdy. In order to compress the clay, we need to use our rib tool here. We also need just a little bit of water to make the surface of the clay a little more slick. We don't need a ton of water. We don't want to soak the clay. Just 1 or 2 sprays. And what we want to do is we want to take the rib tool and we want to use the flat side, not the round side, the flat side. I'm going to hold the tool in my hand like this, and I'm going to scrape the surface of the clay. I'm going to go in one direction, and I'm going to go in another direction, and I'm going to repeat this process across the surface of my clay. If I find that clay starts to lift, add a little bit more water to your surface, so that way the rib tool can drag smoothly across the surface. I am applying a little bit of pressure as I do this, not a ton, but there is some pressure involved. Once I complete one side, I want to very gently pick up my clay. Remember how we talked about holding it like this? I want to very gently lower it down so the other side is exposed. Again, just going to give it a little bit of water, and I'm going to begin to use my rib tool to align and compress the slab. Doing this in a few different directions. If I see a bubble pop up, and you'll notice that it's a bubble because it will be raised, you can take your needle tool and you can poke the bubble, push it down with your finger to push the clay back together, and continue to compress. One slab down, 1 to go. You don't want to compress the clay after you've cut your pieces. You want to do it while it's still an intact slab, because it does change the shape and size of your piece of clay. It is essentially smushing the clay to be more compact. Okay. You are going to have some clay on your rib tool. You should not have a lot. If you have a lot, you're pressing way too hard or you're using too much water. To get this off, you can use a needle tool and you can just set the scrap aside. Make sure the scrap doesn't end up on the floor. Now that I have my slabs compressed, I'm going to start to cut out pieces with my templates. On your packets, mine is white, yours is going to be colored. On your packets, on the front page, you're going to have a procedures checklist. I've made it for you because this project does have a lot of steps. It's going to tell you how many pieces of each template you're going to need. I need 3 4x6 pieces. I need 1 3x6 piece, and I need 2 3x3.5 pieces. Best thing to do is begin to lay these templates out and try to see how you can best use the clay to get the most out of it. Rather than just taking your template and popping it right in the center and wasting an entire slab, think of this like a little game of Tetris. How many pieces can I get out of the pieces that I have made a slab? If you've only made one slab to start, cut your pieces, grab some more clay, roll another slab, come back to cutting. It's that simple. So I think I can get at least 2 of the 4x6s. Yeah, I can get 2 4x6s out of this piece and 1 3x6. So I'm gonna need another 4x6 out of that one, and I'm gonna need 2 of these, 3x3.5, and I can very easily get those pieces. So I can get every piece that I need here. Just wanna make sure that you're using the clay most effectively and you're not having a lot of waste and having to roll out more slabs time and time again because you cut from the middle. All right, so I'm gonna take my 4x6, and I always recommend that you don't cut first, you trace first, okay? Trace first. So you can use a needle tool or a fettling knife. I'm gonna use the fettling knife, and I'm just gonna trace first, and then I'm gonna cut. I'm not even gonna lift up my template before I cut. I'm just gonna use my template to help me cut. So I'm gonna make my first cut here. I can set that clay aside. I don't wanna necessarily do that and cut edges off for the entire thing. I wanna be careful. That way I'm not interfering with another cut I plan to make. I'm not gonna cut down the length of this piece of clay. I'm gonna make that cut and I'm gonna pull the knife out. Side. I'm gonna gently lift this cut piece out. Here it is. And I'm gonna set it aside. We wanna keep all of the slabs that we are making, we wanna keep them plastic and work with them plastic all at the same time. We don't want any of our pieces to dry faster than any other. So make sure that you're treating all of your pieces exactly the same as you work. So again, I'm tracing first. Okay, and now I'm gonna cut. Now I'm gonna lift my second slab out. There it is. Setting it down right there. So in this piece of clay that I have left here, I can get 1 3x6, which is all I need for the 3x6. So I'm gonna line that up. I'm gonna trace and I'm gonna cut. Since this is my last cut in this piece of clay, I can just cut all the way through. Makes it a lot easier to pull this piece up. Okay. So I have another scrap piece here, another scrap, and there is my 3x6. Can take all these scrap pieces and set them aside. If you end up having a lot of scrap pieces and you still need another slab to get another piece or two, wedge these back together and make another slab with it. You don't need to recycle this and get whole new clay. Please make use of what you have so that way we don't have to be recycling clay and reconstituting it as quickly. Okay, so now I have this slab here. I'm gonna center it on my canvas, picking it up very gently, making sure there's no creases in my canvas, and I'm gonna lay it down gently. Okay, so I need one more 4x6 because I need 3 of these, and then I need 2 3.5 by 3s. So I'm gonna line my 4x6 up, and then I'm gonna make sure I've got plenty of space for my 2 3.5 by 3s. And I am going to trace and cut. Okay, now I have all of my pieces. I have 2 3.5 by 3. I have 1 3x6. I have 3 4x6. The 3x6 is our bottom. The 3 4x6, we have 2 side pieces and the lid. And then we have our 2 other side pieces. So when we are ready to put our box together, 3x6 is going to be at the bottom, 1 4x6 on one side, the other 4x6 on the other side, 3.5 by 3 is going to be the short side of the box. The other one is going to be the other short side. And the last 4x6 is the top, just like that. So now we need to talk about, okay, where do we go from here? We have all of our pieces cut. There's a little more to this than just slapping them together. So let's talk about the texture of the clay. When our clay is plastic, it can bend very easily. So if this was supposed to hold straight, just a few wiggles makes it bend. And so we don't want to join the pieces of our box together while they are plastic, meaning lots of moisture, moldable clay. Instead, we want to wait till they're leather hard to join together. Now that we have all of our pieces cut, we need to accelerate the drying process just a little bit. Notice that I've saved all of my clay that I had from cutting. I've wedged it back together, and I'm going to tuck this in a bag so it does not dry out, because I can use this for the rest of my box. I have my cut pieces, and you'll notice that I've got some newspaper here. The newspaper is going to help us get these pieces to become leather hard faster. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set my stack of newspaper aside. I'm gonna start with one piece, and I'm going to zigzag stack my pieces together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place my first piece here. And this, again, you wanna think of this like a little bit of a Tetris puzzle, okay? So let me get this all flat. So my first piece, I'm setting it down right here, but you'll notice that I've got a lot of newspaper down here still. I can take one of my 3.5 by 3s and set it there. I've got a little space in between them, and so they're next to each other, and I'm gonna take the newspaper and I'm going to fold it over. Then I'm gonna do the same thing again. I'm gonna take my 4x6 and I'm gonna stack it on top of my 4x6 that's underneath that one. I'm gonna take my 3.5 by 3, and again I'm gonna stack it on top of the piece below it. and I'm going to fold my newspaper back. I have another 4x6. This one I'm gonna stack in the middle of the 2 pieces of clay underneath it. I'm gonna fold back, and I'm gonna take my last piece and I'm gonna lay that one on top. I'm gonna fold one more time. One piece of newspaper that's double-sided should be able to fit all of your clay. If you need another piece, I should have enough that you can use another piece. And you can very gently, let's see, how do we do this? I'm gonna gently lift this up. Pull my second piece here, and I am going to just wrap it. I have no need to wet this overnight. All I need to do is tuck it back into my bag and seal my bag nice and tight. By the time I come back to class next, these are going to be nice and leather hard and ready to work with. So I put them in my bag, I slid them in, I folded my bag over, and I'm gonna put it in my cabinet looking just like this until the next time that I have class.